All right, you're being recorded.
Nice.
What is this?
The light tree of the Hylar. There's a map of High Claris Tower in here that's really cool, actually.
Real life talk? Is talk a channel now? Talk shows. Alright, confirm and go live.
Yeah, there's talk shows and there's tabletop RPGs and there's like musical performances, which is definitely where we should hang out.
I mean, I don't mind being a musical performance.
Do it all in song.
So, I now have Discord on the wrong channel. Wrong side of the monitor. I think we're streaming. Let's check. Yeah, it looks like we're totally live. Hi there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. It's Mike J. Darkson Berard here with another episode of That D&D Podcast. Today, as you can see, we are super on the ball. We have everything just, totally properly set up. There's 4 of us instead of the usual 5 because our 5th member is on a lovely vacation, and we hope they're having an awesome time. They're always welcome to do so. Let's introduce ourselves in Twitch court order so the peoples can do talkings.
What does that even mean?
Just assuming I'm always first. So, hi, I'm Adam. I will have nothing to contribute to the start of this conversation, but I am here nevertheless.
You contribute in spirit.
I will be a spirit.
Adam might be a little low in the stream.
Okay.
I think you're next, Zach.
Oh, am I next? Hi, I'm Zach. I have a bunch of Dragonlance books, and I was regaling everyone with an anecdote about an old guy who got me to play Traveler before we started stream. So that's my life right now.
Oh, fine.
Sorry. Go, Jonathan.
All right. Adam is 25% louder.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm here because I have opinions about Luke Cage. But they're actually mostly good now.
All right. So yeah,
I'm full of opinion.
So we rather, I don't know, infamously is really the right word there, but we have a history of the title getting added properly. We have a history of many years ago when Luke Cage season 1, what was it, Luke Cage? Iron Fist.
No,
Iron Fist dropped. We interrupted our podcast, our planned that D&D Dresden Files. It was Dresden Files, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our Dresden Files game, and we wound up. Somebody mentioned the Luke Cage thing, and we talked about Luke Cage for 4 hours. Iron Fist. We talked about Iron Fist for 4 hours. So in that vein, let's kick things off with how awesome was that Iron Fist trailer for season 2?
Pretty awesome.
Iron Fist on Luke Cage was the best Iron Fist so far. Like,
yeah,
Defender's Iron Fist was better than Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But that's not saying
Cage, yeah, exactly. But Luke Cage Iron Fist was way better than Defender's Iron Fist because he wasn't a complete fuck up.
He was kind of perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, and all right, so I know I mentioned this before to Zach, is that in comics, you are very rarely the same character in a team-up book as you are in your own book.
Yeah.
And because, you go into, the Avengers and stuff like that, and, lots of characters there just act very differently than they do in their own books. And in that sense, I found that cameo he had in Luke Cage felt very comic booky, because it was the role that Danny plays with Luke Cage a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I found Luke Cage season 2 to be largely the right kind of comic booky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It had all of the modern things that I look for in fiction, which makes it sound like kind of grab baggy, but it had a message, and it had a bad guy that was pretty sure he was the good guy, and that wasn't just evil for the sake of evil. Yeah, there was badness and stuff, and none of the characters in that come out squeaky clean, but they all have recognizable pathos. They all have recognizable motivations. they all work towards the motivations. The characters have fucking agency, and they like cause things to happen, and they don't just like kind of like drift down this river of plots. I have a lot of positive things to say.
I think it's interesting to look back because I was thinking about a lot about the season in terms of like other visual mediums that weren't comic books for some reason. But now that you mentioned that sort of thing, a lot of what I thought was very striking about the season was a very comic book thing. Specifically, they sort of just jettisoned the Netflix Marvel attempt at like naturalizing shots and dialogue. Because like if you watch Daredevil either season, or you watch Jessica Jones either season, or you watch the first Iron Fist, and a lot of the first Luke Cage season, there's a lot of like, okay, well, we're moving and the camera's moving and people are talking and you can't always see them, and like there's dialogue just kind of shooting around back and forth, and you're meant to kind of pick up on the dialogue sort of in total and not in individual pieces, right? Whereas in Luke Cage, everything is, and it varies by director because there were so many directors. Every episode had a new director, right? But the people speaking and the people acting are always right in the middle of the frame. The frame is set. It is a set shot for the most part, and they speak very clearly and they wait for each other to finish every time. And to me, that felt very, I don't know, the word that kept coming to my head was operatic, and I don't know why, because I don't know shit about operas. Right? But like this idea of like, okay, no, we're going to let this person say this thing, and we're going to let the audience digest it, and this other person is going to say this thing back, and we're going to let the audience digest it because we want them to hear and understand the things that are being said more than we want them to intuit the action of the characters.
Unlike opera, where they sing everything that goes on. You know,
like I said, I don't know.
I shouldn't say that, because the only operas I've ever seen are in 4 languages. I've seen an entire opera in German and an entire opera in Czech, but I've never seen an English opera. So, I have no idea why my brain went to that word, but that was like the thing that I started thinking, like episode 2 of Luke Cage, right? And part of it is like the size of the characters, if that makes sense. Like everyone in Luke Cage season 2 was slightly more than the embodiment of an idea, but only slightly more, right? They were all this big inflated version of the thing that they are, so that we could pick up on it and we knew what it was, and we should watch them, and we should watch how they interact with other people, because we have this really solid idea of who they are, and the drama comes from them bumping into each other with that, right? Like Mariah didn't tell us anything new about who she is. Like, we learned some family backstory, right? We learned sort of how she's adjusting to life at the top, as it were. We did learn a couple new things about Mariah.
Okay. What do you think? What were those?
In season 1, our understanding of Mariah was that she was ruthless, that she was willing to do, she was willing to go beyond what other characters were willing to do to get what she wanted. But ultimately, like, she had that erraticness that Cottonmouth didn't, but we never saw her violate family ethos. Right?
You saw her kill fucking Cottonmouth, bro.
Yeah, but like that, not fratricide, but that internecine family murder was already established in like Cottonmouth killed his uncle.
Well, he killed his uncle sort of over Mariah. Like Mariah, so and we got a lot of that in season 2, right? Like Mariah's dual nature as a Dillard and a, what was the other family name? The one that
Stokes.
Yep.
Stokes.
Well, so
Mariah's sort of dual nature as a Dillard and Stokes came up a lot, and her.
So I'm gonna throw a time out real quick. So one of our chat participants, Mathels, Athels. I'm sorry, I'm getting your name wrong. We may be talking about Stokes. Yeah, there. We're going to be talking about Luke Cage season 2. It's kind of like the superhero grab bag wrap up for. So if we might touch on spoilers, I apologize. Awesome, cool. Okay, so go ahead. Mariah Dillard dash Stokes.
So the Dillard Stokes thing within Mariah, and with her daughter, whose name I'm also blanking on all of a sudden, and their sort of relationship with those two families was a huge centerpiece of season 2, and Mariah's part in it. And so I would say that Tilda. I actually really like that one. I would say that Mariah, if you look at it as a conflict between the Stokes and the Dillards names and families for her, I don't think she ever violated family ethos. She just flopped back and forth between family ethoses.
The part where they start doing, where she starts doing drug running, where she goes to the other gangs and says, "Okay, yeah, you can push the smack." Like that was the one thing that I am an '80s don't do drugs ad. Push the smack. That's the thing that violated her family ethos.
Okay.
Which is interesting because like that plus what Shades winds up talking about is an aspect of that whole like situation, like the criminal coded ethos, right? Shades thinks he's going too far, and he goes back multiple times to try to bring her back. Like, hey, let's just do this thing. Like, these things aren't important. Let's just focus on what we do, right? Like, and there's always another rung that Mariah's reaching for, and be damned the consequences. She throws literally everyone to the wolves.
Yeah. All right. So I have one bigger point I want to go back to, but first, point out that Mariah initially violated the criminal thing by trying to go legit and risking so much trying to go legit. And that's where Shades started. But eventually Shades is actually pulling her back from the more criminal stuff. Just something that the way you said that, it made me think about. And then the other thing is that you're talking about, she's going with her grandmother's tradition there of, they're criminals, but they're not against the neighborhood. They're not out to victimize the neighborhood. They're providing some shit that's illegal, but who really gives a shit about it being illegal, right? You want your booze, you want your whatever. We're going to give it to you because that's not going to totally destroy your life, right? It's just something.
And they were community builders.
Yeah, right. And they made sure that was their community. They were going to protect it. It was their turf. But when she turns her back on that with the drugs and all of that is where she lost her way. She went away from the way her grandma did things. And the season ends with Luke Cage stepping up to protect his turf and protect the people inside that place. So you can see where he is starting the cycle over again.
Yep.
Now, from what we've seen, Luke's coming from a better place than even probably her grandma came from. But you've got that cycles going.
Well, and I'll say this about the very end. I don't Luke's also not as far as we know, not actively running any of the rackets himself, right? Luke is there purely managerially, right? Which I think will be a slight difference. But I definitely like that scene of him at the very end. Person in chat who has not finished the season. That scene of him at the very end where he steps up and makes himself the boss of Harlem, that I felt like, and I think I'm said something and kind of sort of conversation with Mike about it, where that's a Daredevil plotline. Hi person, hi little person, how you doing? That is a Daredevil plotline, writ large. They are going through the Bendis Malayev, or Maleev, or how, I don't know. I apologize to that person. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Run of Daredevil and mining it and it's a good run to do that with if you're trying to do the thing they're trying to do with the Netflix series. But it's very clear now to me that's what they're doing because Luke Cage is the boss of Harlem. He's Kingpin of Harlem.
All right. So one of my initial reactions when I was watching Luke Cage, and one of the big themes that comes over the entire season for Luke, is he is trying to deal with his anger, right? And to me, for some reason, this did not come off like the cheap, trite way that it normally goes through.
Yeah.
Luke's anger is valid. It is completely valid, and it's even worse for him because he feels like he should be powerful, and he is personally manifestly powerful, but it doesn't matter. You know, he still can't fix all of these systematic problems that are causing him to rage. And I mean, they do the most horrible thing possible and got Rosario Dawson out of the series, which I'm never going to forgive him for.
She'll be back. I mean, she's gonna be running around with Misty and Colleen soon anyway, so it'll be fine, right?
Well, that's another thing. That was just perfect. I want all of that.
Every time. I was like, so watching the Iron Fist trailer, the new one, like I was like, okay, this is fine. Iron Fist is pretty cool. Wow, he actually kicked that guy's ass. Yes, they're back. Like that was one of my reactions through that. It was great. I think, and kind of going back to the point that was made earlier, right, about the black folks criminals, sort of, we have to do this thing, right, but we're doing it to protect the neighborhood, right? The whole season, if you watch it, is about the kind of things black folks had to do to protect themselves, right? Like, the family started gun running and booze running because that kept the Irish and the others out of Harlem and protected their people, right? They didn't bring in drugs because that's a big issue of contention within black communities still. Like, gangs bringing in drugs is much worse than some of the other things they can be doing. But also Luke goes through that whole, like, there are two ways that society will let you be powerful as a black man. And those two ways are as an entertainer, whether that's an athlete or a singer or a rapper, or as a crime boss. Those are the two things that they will let you do as a black man in America and actually exercise your power. Be one of the upper crust and elite that can wield some power. Whether it's LeBron James starting up a school, or like Beyonce doing her philanthropic stuff, or like the thing that kept going through my head this season was Suge Knight, right? Because Suge Knight has been on both sides of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, Luke had to find, and Luke was trying to walk a different path, and it wasn't working, and you could see the frustration building. Like, you're absolutely right. His anger was valid. The thing about valid anger, though, is it's very rarely helpful, and it's really bad when it's not directional. Like, if you're not actually,
And I thought they did a great job of portraying that. Is that Luke's trapped by it. He knows he's trapped by it. He's a thoughtful guy, and like you see, he knows what's happening, but he still can't break out of it. And I mean, like, his father has the one speech where it's just flat out explained, you know, which dog is stronger, the one you feed. And like, just the way they did that, I thought they did an exceptional job, especially for like a mass media piece, of dealing with what is a really complex issue of like that whole masculine anger thing where they're tied together, and it is not a real healthy relationship there. I mean, I was super impressed with it, and like, maybe I'm giving them a lot of credit they don't deserve, but I don't think so. I think they knew what they were doing on that.
I also really liked his dad.
Yes.
I came to really like his dad. I really like the guy who played his dad. The guy who played his dad has been a favorite of mine for a while. Like, he was on House of Cards. He was on The West Wing for a little while.
Oh, he wasn't he?
He's been in a lot of things that I really liked.
Together.
Unfortunately, he passed away after the season finished filming, so we won't see any more of Luke's dad, which makes me sad both for that actor and his family and for the series.
Vaguely unrelated, I'm just horrible with actors and like connecting them between projects and different characters, because like I keep going, oh, I really like the girlfriend in Deadpool. Wait a minute, she was Inara from Firefly. Yeah, of course I liked her. I did this a decade ago.
But I came around on Luke's dad because last season, and I think this was partially intended, last season left me, because I watched the end of last season before I started for this season, and the end of last season leaves you with a pretty bad taste in your mouth as far as Luke's dad.
Wait, and like, I'm not sure that that bad taste is ever supposed to be fully redeemed, right? He's a complicated character, and who's got real negative stuff that he did to Luke in the past, right? Like, he's gonna go to the strap and beat his son again. It's like, okay, like, I'm not gonna...
Well, and, like, because they didn't so much as try to rehabilitate him as fill him out.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't say he's given up this stuff, he doesn't believe this stuff anymore. It's just, no, he's more of a complete person. There's, like, a rounded thing to him where he's got his bad sides, but he's also actually, he cares for Luke, which doesn't come together at all in the last season.
No.
But in this season, you know, like, he's actually kind of wise and really does want the best for Luke and is trying to help him the best way he can.
And everyone, and, like, coherent as a character, right? Because, like, he is religious to a fault in many respects, right? And, like, Luke brings, what's-his-face, Piranha to him and says, hey, I need you to watch this guy. And Luke comes back and these guys go, Piranha's gone. And Dad, what the hell did you do? I told you to watch it. And, like, the first thing he says is, like, language or whatever. And then the next he goes on and be like, I told him to stay. I cautioned him to stay. But free will is the best gift the Lord has given us. And I'm not going to take that away from someone or whatever. And, like, I mean, okay, yeah, that's perfectly in line with the character, what we've seen so far. And I hate you, but good job in the right direction.
Well, and it's like building on this thing of, like, there are a bunch of characters that I didn't like. Like, I didn't like Piranha at the thing, but I still felt bad for him by the end of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Piranha was not a redeemable person, but I wanted to see Luke try and if not succeed, then try.
Yeah.
So going kind of back to the dad discussion real quick before we move on. What he reminded me of is the kind of person that I've met and known in my life that, like, really screwed up and was a really messed up person, and then sort of found something, in this case religion, to bring them back and be a moral center, and they've still got that in them. That's still there, right? They're just they've used this to move past it and grow. And so even those people never fully lose that part of themselves. They just fight it the whole time, which is itself sort of an expression of that grace that he was trying to give Luke, I think. I think Luke is fundamentally a better person than his dad. I think that in a lot of ways his dad and Luke's mom succeeded in raising a person better than his father, at least. We don't know that much about Mom, other than she kind of got fridged a little bit as Luke's backstory.
Yeah. Luke's mom getting fridged, was that the backstory, or was it parental abandonment? Because it wasn't just his mom died, right? It's that his dad didn't believe him and left him rot in jail. Yeah.
Well, and, like, alright, so fridging, she was never a character in the present tense. So that feels a little bit... Because I'm like, orphans, like, was Batman's parents fridged? They're never really part of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. They're a plot point, right?
His entire motivation is his dead parents.
Yeah.
It's like the OC
they were brought
fridge.
on and then killed to elicit the emotional response, right? Actually, now I'm really curious how soon that came up in Batman history. But they were never ongoing characters. There was never any pretension that, hey, this is my parents. See, aren't they awesome? Don't you love them? By the way, they're dead.
No.
Running like three issues of like 12-year-old Bruce, right? like the very start of Batman, just like properly get the emotional impact in there. Bob Kane was really forward-looking comics creator.
So many confusing comic book nerds.
Like,
why am I reading this?
It was basically like Richie Rich for 3 issues. And then there's a killing and it's fucking Batman.
Well, now I want to see that.
I want to see somebody do the Bruce Wayne. Because they made Gotham, right? They can do this. This will just be the Iron Project.
If I recall correctly, Batman's motivation wasn't always dead parents.
No, I'm going completely off like supposition in my own memory here, but I think Batman got dead parents sort of around the Reformation of DC, back when everything sort of got put back together and DC and AC went back. Like they gave it to him somewhere because he was created in like
30s, 20s, something like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah.
in the 30s, he had a hang glider with a machine gun on it. And they made him another thing later on when the Hays Code came in and all that stuff. And I think that's when the parents' stuff came in.
Okay.
And bear in mind that there have been like 7 or 8 different Batmen, which means that like 7 or 8 Thomas and Martha Waynes have died. Like the more universes DC creates, the more dead Waynes there are.
So I guess I'm wrong. So like in Detective Comics number 33, November 1939. 1939, good God, is the first exposition of Batman's origin story, which I believe is Bruce Wayne's dead.
Yeah.
Or Thomas Wayne's dead.
Maybe I'm completely wrong then.
I was convinced that wasn't like the original thing either.
I would not have expected them to do something like that until like the 60s. They probably I would have expected them not just to not care. He's a rich dude with a hang glider that has a machine gun on it. Like that was the kind of comics they made in the 30s.
Yeah, and I can see the explanation being like a one-sentence explanation of, a criminal killed my parents and therefore I fight justice. And that would be it. We wouldn't be having flashbacks or talking about mental trauma. We'd be talking about machine gun, hang glider, let's go get 10 guys.
and that is exactly what it is. They die in a flashback in the 33rd issue of Detective Comics.
A machine gun hang glider with a teenager hanging out the back, if I remember the art correctly.
All right.
Batman's always been really good at just completely endangering all the children around him at all times.
All right, so bringing this back in.
Luke Cage.
Yeah, let's do Luke's dad before we move back on to Denny Rand.
Okay, so I really liked Luke's dad. I liked the interaction between. I liked that they brought in, if they were going to bring in a kid for Mariah. I liked that they brought in another parent to play her off of, and I liked that both of them were kind of bad at it. Right. I like that Luke's dad was a better parent to everyone who wasn't Luke, essentially. Right?
Well, and like that's very true to life sometimes, though, right? Because there are people inside your family you have trouble relating to because of all of the history. Whereas just a random person on the street, you can be like, "Oh, well, you have to get away from that person. Come on, clearly, or whatever good advice they need."
Yeah, and the context in which he is a preacher means that he meets all those people in that context, and that context is him as a very different person than his context as an actual father.
Yeah,
that was for sure.
That professional life versus his personal life.
Yeah, but I also like the speech, like the conversation that he and Mariah have about kids and about having kids and about what they mean to you. Literally, it's no more than 10 minutes later that Mariah tells Tilda she never loved her, and your dad is not who you think it is, right? Like that episode is like distilled, especially vicious CW drama, like, and it's a. I'm not trying to denigrate it at all. Like it's a very good thing there, right? But even like the whole, on some level, everyone in the story had something. Like the huge overarching theme was family, right? You had the Stokes family, all the shit that they did with Mariah and Tilda at the top of it.
Sins of the past as well, right? The family's sins coming back to haunt you again.
Yeah, and I mean, there was even Bushmaster's.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's named after the rum they took from them. Like,
and like even he has his family unit at the other side that gets destroyed because someone doesn't know how to say any kind of limits on what they do. But at the same time, like, it's really tough with Bushmaster because clearly he is the other side of that anger coin, where Luke manages to just barely pull himself back. Bushmaster doesn't. And I mean, it pretty much destroys him. Like, I know he lives through the season. Sorry. But he's very clearly broken, and I'm really curious to see what they'll do with him in the future. Because, like, his rage is why he was a bad guy.
No. His rage was not why he was a bad guy.
Okay.
his lack of pathos for other people was why he was a bad guy.
See, I am saying that he had his rage against the Stokes family is where all of his sins come from.
I think that, and part of what I love about Luke Cage Season 2 is that Luke constantly being there, being a Bushmaster-like figure for the people around him without murder fucking the shit out of everyone around him, right? Like, Luke doesn't cut off people's heads and put them on pikes, right? Bushmaster does to send a message, but, like, he loses. And it's that sort of, it's not the word, like, what's the word for, like, the ethical battle that goes on in these stories? There's a phrase for it, but, like, Luke Cage wins, despite losing several times in the fight, because of his...
He lost once. I want to point that out. He lost once. Bushmaster... See, that was the thing. That was the fun thing that I really enjoyed. And we can go back to your point in a second. I'm sorry. But the fight on the bridge, he doesn't lose. And I really liked that. Like, Bushmaster had to cheat to paralyze Luke and then chuck him in the river, right? Like,
okay, that's street fighting, though, Zach.
Luke
gets paralyzed and dumped off a bridge.
Right? Here's the point, because I think this is very important, right? We went through the back half of that season knowing that Luke could take Bushmaster, right? Luke could take Bushmaster on an even fight, hand to hand. Luke Cage could punch his way through Bushmaster, and it didn't fucking matter. Right, I think that was a very
point that
needed.
It's also kind of the point where Bushmaster stops being the primary antagonist.
It is, yes,
because he's a problem that needs to be solved, but he is not the big issue.
No,
Mariah steps up.
At some point,
but
Luke and Bushmaster went from doing this to doing this, and then doing this again. Like,
it's the scene where the two of them fight off the Mariah's ambush. And then you got the wonderful, the amazing, fucking amazing scene in the mortuary where they're talking over Bushmaster's dead uncle. And he's like, this is wrong. I'm gonna still do it. And Luke's like, I don't want to kill you, but I will if I have to. And then it's like, I'm not looking forward to killing you the next time. Like, that's such a superhero, super villainy, like, bravado speech. But it's perfect.
But that's what I'm getting to is that his relationship with the Stokes and that original sin of the Stokes' betrayal and murder of his mother is why he's a villain. Like, if he somehow resolves that, I don't think he goes around and still cuts people's heads off and puts them on pikes.
Yeah, but he doesn't continue the hero, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, Bushmaster's whole thing is that, like, his rage and his lack of pathos for other people feeds his destructive tendencies, which is the nightshade, which is physically poisoning his body, which is a metaphor for his anger poisoning his mind, right?
That's what I mean, but it's that whole relationship with the Stokes family. If he somehow resolved that, and it is basically resolved at this point, because remember, he actually likes the daughter. He thinks the daughter somehow isn't a Stokes.
That's because the daughter pulled the thorn out of the lion's paw, man.
Yep. So, like, at this point, if he came back, I'm not so certain that he wouldn't help Luke. Because remember, he was going for his birthright, and his birthright was Harlem. But he had that old school mentality. Harlem was his to protect and to own. I think he had both sides of that. He didn't target random people. He targeted the people in crime who were taking over Harlem.
So
not just in crime. Let's think about who he targeted, right? He targeted Cockroach, who was a domestic abuser and a all-around shitbird to Harlem, right? He targeted who's the other? There are two more that we saw on screen.
Piranha.
And they were all.
He targeted Piranha.
Was it Piranha? Did he come after Piranha?
It was Cockroach, Piranha, and then two guys that got less screen time.
Piranha was also very predatory towards the people and monies of.
And both of those two people were tied in with the Stokes. The two people he killed were the people that were going to make the deal with the Stokes, who were in the criminal underworld taking over Harlem.
It was the four people, and it was all of Mariah's potential attendants, potential moneylenders, right?
Yeah.
It was the whole moneylenders thing. It's biblical, but
it definitely was. And I mean, Bushmaster repeatedly cites scripture over and over again. But I think the important thing there was, like, he wasn't taking out sugars out of Mariah's gang. He wasn't taking out corner boys and putting their heads on pikes, right? Like, his beef was not with Harlem, it was with the Stokes. And I think
Yeah,
I
but
totally agree with Jonathan. If he comes back, and I don't know if he will, if he comes back as just a dude who's maybe sort of in charge of the Yardies, I think Luke and his relationship is very different.
I don't think that he comes back and wants to be in charge of the Yardies, because he was in it for the club, because that was that's the sin, right? That they killed his mother and wrote his family out of it.
Yeah.
And
I would not be at all surprised, and I would really love to see, because I love the dude who played him. I like the character of Bushmaster.
It was an excellent villain, especially for this whole Marble Street level thing. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, because there's still two claimants to the Harlem's Paradise that are not Luke Cage, right? There's still I can't remember what Bushmaster's last name is, but him, and there's Tilda.
Yeah.
And so that draw playing out next season.
But there's not, right? Because Tilda, like, and now we're talking like CK2 lineage and stuff like that. But Tilda's claim does not exist anymore because Mariah willed it to Luke.
No.
Well, no, I think. All right, so I'm going to back up for a minute and go back to this. But what you were talking about before, Zach, with the bridge fight, and Luke didn't really lose that fight, is that they've done excellent booking on this, okay? In the professional wrestling sense, which frankly is actually a super important comic book writing skill. Excellent booking. Booking is who wins a wrestling. Okay, so in pro wrestling, so more spoilers, it's fake. Or rather, it's scripted, okay? It's still an amazing athletic ability. It is still a huge athletic event. You know, those dudes are all awesome athletes. But in the beginning of the match, I've often said that they're one of the few people who still deal with a live crowd in a way like that's not completely scripted. Because like when they give promos, when they do all that stuff, that's all usually on them. They have some writers to help them, but not really. Anyway, whoever's going to win the match, that's determined. It's even determined like how they're going to win the match. So like Bob comes in with a steel chair and smashes him over the head. That's a booking decision to make it so it's not a clean win. So if the guy who loses is a bad guy, he can still be egotistical about it. If it's a good guy, well, clearly he was done wrong and he would have won. Marvel's been doing a great job at this lately. Look at Thor Ragnarok. Okay? We have the Hulk and the Thor fighting, which is supposed to be like one of the few fights there. Who the hell wins? Who knows? They kind of gave you a way to make a case that you could go for either one of them. Because Thor had that little electro zappy thing on him, just about the point where he was going to win, steel chair to the back of the head. So bringing this back here to Luke Cage, that was excellent booking on their part, and that heritage thing you're saying where Mariah willed the club to tilt to Luke Cage, that's still good booking,
right?
Because Tilda's claim is valid.
Right.
Yeah.
Tilda will honestly believe that claim. And, like, there are plenty of other people who will also honestly believe that Tilda deserves to have that.
Well, it's been in the Stokes family for years.
Exactly.
Luke Cage didn't even grow up in Harlem, man. Luke Cage is an outsider.
Exactly. So, yeah, and, like, that's one thing Marvel has been doing a stellar job of lately is the booking in their movies and their TV shows.
So let's use that. I don't know if Matt is still here, but let's use that to talk about the Danny Rand episode.
Okay, can I do one thing first?
Yes.
I have to say this. Elfrey Woodard is a freaking amazing actress. I hate Mariah. And I realized, like, after the second or third episode where I'm like, God, think of the Mariah story. I freaking hate her. I wasn't, like, hating her because I was bored. I was hating her because I hate her.
Because you hate her, right? No, and she is so good because she never, so, like, kind of to put it in a different perspective, right? Like, Shades, the guy who plays Shades, right, does a really good job, but he does it in a very different way from the woman who plays Mariah. Because the guy who plays Shades has, like, 4 distinct faces that he will show you, depending on what you're supposed to think he's feeling in a scene, right? Or doing in a scene. Whereas Mariah, the actress that plays Mariah, has one face, and it still manages to convey whether it's family pathos or criminal aggression or like concerned that Luke Cage is coming for her ass. It's all the same face, but it works every time because she's so good at manipulating it to that, and her delivery on lines is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
It's so good, so good.
But you mentioned Shades though, and I got to talk about Shades. Shades was like I can't point my finger at anybody in this season that was like the weak link or was uninteresting. Like they did shit with Shades that was like, oh yeah, do you remember this background character that's kind of like an up and comer and super fascinating? Here is everything in the world that you want to make this character like deep and interesting and emotionally like oh wow, fuck you, this is awesome. Yeah.
I would like to also point out that Shades doesn't have Shades had family drama without having any technical family in the film.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Which was amazing. Like that character is so, and I really like Shades in season 1 too because I felt like he was a very good foil for Mariah and Diamondback specifically, standing across from those two people being Shades, right?
Yeah.
Well, in season 1, it always amazed me that there was never a shoe drop of him having powers as well. Because he didn't run the fuck away from Luke Cage. He routinely stood up for Luke Cage.
No.
Luke Cage would splatter the shit out of him.
Well, that's because Shades beat his ass in prison before Luke got power.
Yeah.
Hey?
He's got like, and Shades is from whether it's the street before prison or prison itself. Or just gangster life, right? Shades is from a collection of cultures where you don't fucking back down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just the way he's written, though, because, like, it amazes me because it's plausible every time that he gets away with it.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to, after seeing that a couple times, be like, he's making sure that's true in the situations? Because there's no way he doesn't get himself caught in a corner and just punch through a wall at some point.
He's so... I mean, one, he knows Luke Cage won't kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and he's one of the few... He is our glimpse into what a criminal looks like when they know Batman won't kill them. Right?
So he's the Joker, is what you're saying?
A little bit, but not. I mean, in that specific instance, yes. Like in that specific aspect, he has that same aspect, right? Like,
he's a lot more like a professional criminal. Who just, I am here to make some money. I am not out here to dominate the world. I'm not here to shoot babies.
and he's got that code that the old Stokes did, right? Like there is the line. The line is partially like his line isn't drugs, right? But it's the street code because he's the warrior. He's the street warrior. Him and Comanche, and like I really, really dug that whole relationship between him and Comanche.
Him and Comanche is really cool. I think the really interesting thing for me with Shades is that Shades is not a good guy, right? He's not a good guy. But
you got the pathos there.
But Shades is what it looks like when you run out of options, right? And you run out of options real young. And the Shades also by like of 13 episodes, by episode 9 he was, or so 8 or 9, he was completely in on the let's go legit plan. Like he started we don't have to sell the gun business, we can sell the painting, right? And then he's like, no, I'm starting to believe we can go legit. I don't have to be a gangster anymore. Life can actually be life now.
Let me buy the club from you.
Yeah. And you can see that he started seeing Mariah as his way out. And the idea that a guy like Shades wanted a way out. Like, that adds so much depth to that.
All of the characters were just so good consistently. I'm struggling to find a weak link, which is why let's roll it back to get Danny.
Okay, yeah. Now that we've raised the question of Danny, and again, he is the best he is ever in this one episode.
He's kind of bland comparatively.
Well, yeah, but Danny Rand's kind of, he's literally the white bread kung fu guy. Like,
yeah,
Danny Rand is kind of bland. Like, it's just.
He's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be a little bland in this because he's supposed to be showing Luke there is a way to peace. There is a way to not have a constant struggle.
And he shows him by beating his ass, which is great.
On like the mountaintop overlooking the city, like it's still a thing.
He's all like punch, punch, punch. Luke's like, what are you doing?
Oh, by the way, I want to go way back to the opening shot of the fucking, because I rewatched the first episode this afternoon and got a little bit in the second one of this season, and the combination of Luke in the African American College Alliance hoodie with the needle drop, I'm like, this is like the most hardcore episode of what was that show when they were in college? The black kids were in college. Can't remember.
Oh, it was the sequel to the Cosby
In Living
Show,
Color.
wasn't it?
Not In Living Color.
Another World.
Another World. Yeah, this is the hardest core episode of Another World. See,
That's a deep cut, Zach.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So deep I can't even pull them off on my own. But yeah, Danny Rand. So I have to admit that shot of after Danny shallows through the wall of the warehouse, and they're like in green smoke posing. Like, yeah, no, somebody actually read some fucking comic books for Danny Rand. Good job, guys.
I mean, let's lay all the problems with Iron Fist season 1 at Scott Buck's feet and move on.
Yeah.
I'm into that. I think
Amusingly, I was trying to remember. I could have sworn he was involved in Defenders, or
He
like
was.
planned to be involved in Defenders.
yeah.
But like, so I went and I did a Google search there for Scott Buck and Defenders, and then set my time basically a week before Iron Fist drops. And wow, what a different set of articles you read there.
Oh
But
man.
I think Danny was exactly the person Danny needed to be for Luke Cage. I think Jonathan's absolutely right in that he was a different character there. Because I made the comment earlier, like if you watch the trailer for Iron Fist, he's clearly gone back to being a complete fuck up, like a different version of fuck up, but it's still a complete fuck up.
I don't know.
Season 2.
I think we'll see. The trailers for Luke Cage painted a very different picture than what the season 2 was. They painted it as Luke Cage has gotten super egotistical and is getting his ass beat because he's lost touch, right?
Yeah.
And that was not. There was a couple episodes that touched on something like that, but that was not what the season was about.
Yeah, and it was a lot more of like that was what was the word on the street rather than what was actually happening to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I was going to talk about, I'm pretty certain I did mention here. I know I talked about it with Zach in chat. Is that I viewed that partly as Danny talking to Luke, and to keep it internally consistent with where he's going to be in his own series, is that he looks up to Luke. He wants to help Luke. He is putting on an act when he talks to Luke.
Yeah.
He's showing Luke what he thinks Luke needs to see to help Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And also, and also that's like the only time Luke's going to see him for a while, so like he can keep his shit together for 3 hours.
That's also got his. That's also got the Netflix the Marvel. Let's put a guest character into the main character episode and shake them together, right? Like Hulk is not the same Hulk that he is between even Ragnarok and Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe you chalked it up to there was a lot going on, right? It was really hard for them to do, but I just think that's a thing that happens, right? And I'm going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very comic book thing. It was what Luke needed to hear. Also, it's Luke's show, and you put the other characters in contrast to him, and that is the contrast between Luke and Danny when Danny's on his shit. Is Danny's the calm, centered one that's like, dude, you got to get yourself together, and Luke's the like guy who knows how to do things. It's like, wow, white boy, you really out of place here.
Yeah.
Also, like,
Well, that also the whole thing of
power, not
you're
power.
rich, right?
Yeah.
Make a phone call.
Yeah, like buying the warehouse before they exploded was amazing.
And like their whole argument about money's not power, power is power, and the power is power, and in the end it flips around, and that's fine. I didn't find anything bad with it, but I was a little bit like, come on, Danny, you know that money's power. Like season 1 of Iron Fist was about money being power.
But I think that Danny so that's also another tension within Danny Rand, the character,
Yeah.
has been for a really long time. Like,
Well,
he is from, and this is sort of the tradition. Like, he was schooled in the tradition of, like, this not quite actually exactly Buddhist, like
comic
thought,
focus.
yeah. Thought while he was training, and he was trained to be like a selfless living weapon, like giving up material things. The idea that material things are unimportant or unnecessary, and sort of balancing that with the fact that he's rich as shit,
Yeah.
and can wield that as another form of power. Like, that tension is pretty central to the Danny Rand character in the comics most of the time.
Well, and I think you're talking about season 1. I think he came to terms with the fact that a rich person can still thwart the Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's internalized that I am a rich person and can do that kind of thwarting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we saw that. I think that was the
Yeah.
first. I mean, we hear, and there's a couple of them. I wish I would have like written them down or something. There's a couple of different instances. Well, his people build the arm for Misty, right?
Oh yeah.
It's Rand Tech, not Stark Tech or Hammer Tech. It's Rand Tech. So we got a third player in that little gang right now.
Yeah, and apparently just secretly is awesome at cybernetics there.
Well, I mean, didn't Danny build her arm in the comics?
I don't know.
I don't remember actually.
Like, I
know-
thought
I
that was
know-
like a specific call out to like the original origin of.
I know that at one point, I know for a long time she had a Stark Tech arm.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think her original arm was a Star. I want to say, and I could definitely be wrong there, but I want
Yeah.
to say her original arm was a Stark Tech arm.
Let's try-
because she was a
try-
hero cop before she was anything else, right? Like, by the time she meets Danny Rand and and Luke Cage, she's not a cop anymore. The thing that makes her not a cop anymore has already happened.
Okay.
But so the whole episode was really good. Them just broing out over some Chinese food. That's the Chinese place that's run by the lady.
From the one that gets exploded.
He got rocketed in the first season.
Yeah. Didn't he actually buy that place?
Yes,
Like,
he did.
I thought it was pretty clearly implied that he bought the place and made sure it got fixed up. It was like,
Mhm.
who goes there because he likes it?
Yep, it's great. It's great.
But he's got a line like there, like this is the best whatever I've had outside of Xiao or whatever.
Yeah. But like, I love the exchange between him and Luke. It's like, dragons, really, man? Like, dude, you're bulletproof. You're fucking bulletproof.
He can accept the dragon, yeah.
Like, dragons can be real. It's okay. I do love the running joke of like otherwise people who've otherwise seen ridiculous things
Mm-hmm.
being like, dragon.
They
It's
fought
funny
in the
'cause-
bones of a dragon and the other defenders, right?
Yep. But like, it still feels okay for Luke to be doing that. Like, I can see him actually being like, no, dragons aren't fucking real. No. I understand I can punch a Mack truck. Don't care. Dragons
Also-
aren't real.
Also, New York was invaded by aliens like 2 years ago.
He also could
So-
just be giving Danny shit, and I'd be fine with it.
No, I
There's
think
also
that's
that,
absolutely
too.
what it is, right? And I think that it also serves, like, again, their relationship in the comics. At least I've read a lot of Heroes for Hire / Avengers / whatever these guys are in. I love those two characters together, and their relationship is out of touch Buddhist white boy with a shitload of money, and Luke, the ex-con from the block. Those are the two. Those are the vibes, right? That play off each other, and that scene in the Chinese restaurant and that warehouse scene where he throws the fucking like the fast fist special.
Patty cake.
Was amazing.
Patty cake.
Uh,
What? Punch my fist. I'm ready for it. All right. Kaboom.
Like that whole thing, that was very much like their relationship, and I really dug that a lot. I wish we would have gotten more. Obviously, I just want season after season of all of them in one place. It'd be great.
I don't know how much I want a Defender season 2.
I want the characters together. I don't know that I want them to all be there all the time with a big super giant rat.
I don't know it needs to be defenders, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what I want is an intervention on Luke. What I want is the reverse angle, because in the comic books, right? We've already talked a little bit about how they're cribbing Daredevil stories, right? So Daredevil's, so Kingpin is killed, right? And Daredevil sort of assumes the position of Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen, right? And does the thing Luke Cage is doing right now. And everybody in street level New York Marvel comes to Daredevil over the course of like 3 issues is like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Dude, this is messed up. This is not what we do. This is not how we do. Don't do this. And Daredevil and Matt's like, fuck you. You don't know me. Fuck you. Go away. And then Luke Cage invites Matt Murdock to Harlem, right? And Matt Murdock's like, okay, I'll go to Harlem. And Luke Cage dresses down Matt Murdock. Just lays into him. And that is the thing that makes him have a second thought about this whole process.
Okay, so we all like Luke Cage season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This time last year, people were like, "Is there a future for the Marvel Netflix verse?" And Jessica Jones season 2 was good, right? Like I don't know that anybody disputes that. It wasn't as good as the first one.
Season 2 of Jessica Jones kind of went under the radar a little bit. I didn't feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like it got.
Finished it. I'm really sad about that. It was just too heavy for me around episode 4 or 5 at the time.
It got pretty heavy towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that wasn't it the one that was all female directors?
Oh, maybe.
I think that made some news, but I think otherwise people didn't really talk about it.
No.
I think people are done kind of talking about Marvel Netflix shows like they're special somehow. Like they're just like they're a thing.
Well, and like that they're surprising that they're good. Because that was really the first talk about Daredevil was like, this is a good show. Just flat out, there's no qualifiers there. This was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about Daredevil anymore. I don't know why.
I don't know if I want to see season 3. I just, at the time, season 1 was amazing, and it was like, this is just a flat out good show.
I loved every episode of season 1. And season 2, I was like, all right, this Punisher arc is rad. This Elektra stuff, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've liked everything else since then. But when Matt dies, Defenders, I'm like, and Danny's all like, yeah, I'll be the new Daredevil for Hell's Kitchen. I was like, okay, I want to fucking see that.
Okay,
nothing
so
in the trailer. Super annoyed.
Can we fucking talk about that, by the way? So...
wait, what'd you say? I missed it. I had the thing where I forgot things.
Can we fucking talk about that?
But
Because there was nothing in the trailer. There's nothing in the trailer about that. For Iron Fist 2, there's no Daredevil as Iron Fist.
So that's the thing, right? So when when Daredevil dies at the end of Defenders, and then they don't let him stay dead. First of all, I was super frustrated by that.
Yeah.
You guys didn't hear about it. All of you heard it. For all the internet didn't hear it. But I was like, what the fuck? Let him be fucking dead for a minute.
I think we all said that the exact same way, just in different times and places.
Yeah, it was just absurd.
And, because, I mean, they're cribbing very heavily. I've seen Matt Murdock die in the comics. It's happened. He dies. And then he comes back because they're fucking comic books. And we all know that's going to happen. And he died in the fucking bowels of a dead dragon.
Well, and the thing that gets me the most about that is that was the first big death. They could have played that like it was real.
Mm-hmm.
And people would have bid onto it because so far it's still not been super comic booky.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes back, because now the next person that dies is going to be like,
yeah, they're just coming back. But I wanted to see Danny Rand trying to properly police Hell's Kitchen. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see
all this shit was going through my mind. I
mask.
was like, oh yeah, maybe that's how we get a mask, right? He gets to put on the yellow devil mask because
Can we talk about that as well? Because the one thing I fucking hated about that trailer was the Iron Fist mask.
They look so different.
It was the word, and okay, so like I said, I've been reading these guys a long time. I've seen a lot of it, and I'm not super into the '80s Cobra collar thing they had going on, but just the the Danny Rand in like a white tracksuit with green shoes.
Yeah.
And the like domino head mask thing with a super long, but that works in comics, but it doesn't work in real life because it looks fucking ridiculous in real life.
Yep.
I am vainly searching the internet for Iron Fist cosplay that doesn't look absurd.
Oh, good luck.
The mask doesn't work. Like the
Yeah.
the season 1 Daredevil black mask, right? That
Yep.
he's wearing at the very beginning works because there's no eye holes.
Mm-hmm.
If you put eye holes in a tied-on mask on an actual human face,
Yeah.
it looks dumb.
Yep. Well, and like you have to do the whole eyeliner thing to blend it into the dark color, and then it's stupid. I was all right with that thing in the duel scene where it was ritualized costumery and like that. I'm like, okay, it looks okay there, but like on the street, what the fuck's wrong with you, Danny?
No, I'm really hoping that
also-
that it never actually gets beyond that.
It becomes just everything. Yeah.
I was also super into the desiccated corpse wearing the Iron Fist mask. I was really
Yeah.
into that.
That was good.
Because that gave me immortal Iron Fist feelings,
Mm-hmm.
which is super good.
You
like,
can't wear this mask. It's just every
you
single
can't. Like, it's
picture is
physically
amazingly
impossible.
bad.
Like because I don't know if you've ever seen it. Like if you look up immortal Iron Fist, right? It's drawn in such a way that like a skinny Danny Rand is wearing like a white tracksuit with yellow shoes and a yellow mask and he's got like the full-on dragon. It looks like he's dressed sort of as a palette switch Bruce Lee essentially, right? With a big dragon on the front, and then like a mask, the yellow mask, and it ties. And there's this long fluttering tail, right? And it looks super great in comic stills. In real life, it would look ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't dress Iron Fist in real life in anything besides like a hoodie and sweatpants.
All right, I can't tell if I've just looked at too many of these and they're starting to become normalized or what.
It's a good sign, Mike.
Like, oh, this guy's not too bad. It's like, no, look, it's goofy.
But
Well,
so
and like I don't even know if you could do the Green Lantern thing and do it by CGI. They're not going to in Marvel Netflix for a full season. But I don't even think you could really pull it off with that.
I don't think you can dress somebody like I also don't think you can dress somebody like traditional Luke Cage. Like
Oh, yeah,
old school
yeah,
Luke
yeah.
Cage
Yeah.
in real life and have them
Yeah.
not look stupid. Right?
But I want to see somebody try.
Well, they did it briefly for that one scene.
In
then
season
they're
1, he's
like,
got the cuffs
"Bye."
on and the,
Yeah.
so good. I was so happy, but he looked no.
When like he knew he looked dumb, and he was like, "Get this shit off me."
Like the look they've gone with Luke in the Netflix verse essentially is very reminiscent to me of again the Bendis Malaya of Daredevil run where they had him in black t-shirts and occasionally the hoodie and the like skull cap stocking hat. Like it's a good look for Luke Cage because he just looks like a dude who's super badass. He's a super badass dude.
Yeah.
And Luke Cage was also one of the ones that wanted Matt Murdock to go legit. He wanted Matt Murdock to like be, no, I'm Daredevil. That's a thing that I also do in the comics. Whereas I don't think we get that out of Luke in Netflix at all. But I really wanted to see Danny. I wanted to see Danny try to do what Matt did, and I wanted to see him deal with that, even only for a couple of episodes, right? Because like, Danny's fucking uptown. Like, what kind of crime is in Uptown? Like, is he defending Chinatown? Is that what we're seeing in the trailer?
No, I
think
assume
it
that
is.
he's in Hell's Kitchen.
You think he's doing the Daredevil thing in Hell's Kitchen?
I think he's defending Hell's Kitchen. I don't know if he's doing the Daredevil thing.
Because what he did in the comic books, and I actually really liked this, right, was Matt Murdock is being suspected of being Daredevil. Matt Murdock flees the country, and then Danny Rand is Daredevil for a while to try to throw people off the scent.
That's what I was hoping. So this is interesting. It is exactly the same headpiece as Wolverine, basically. Without Wolverine's got the eyes in the front.
Oh yeah,
was
it is
painted
a little
on.
bit, yeah.
So I'm
It
trying
is
to
a
find a
little bit.
picture of Hugh Jackman with the Wolverine mask on, and I can't.
Yeah, they get rid of that as soon as they can, almost every time they can.
Yeah, because it looks dumb.
Yeah, one, it's also the Hollywood thing of like, why didn't you get a lot of power armor movies? Because you don't get shots of the actor's face and then everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, we paid $20 million for this guy to be in our movie, and mostly we just see CGI.
Yeah, but what's his face? Ryan Reynolds, totally fine with it.
That's just because Ryan Reynolds is like, whatever, screw your rules. I do what I like.
Yeah, somehow Deadpool is magic. We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Somehow Deadpool is magic.
Deadpool is magic. It's amazing.
It's been true in the comics for a really long time. Somehow Deadpool's magic. He gave Cable a personality.
All right, so
proxy.
we talked about all this shit, right? So let me tie this back into something that Adam can chime in about, because I know that he's sitting there like, guys, it's been 75 minutes and we're still talking about the same shit.
I mean, I've just been playing Graveyard Keeper, so I'm cool.
Okay.
Nice.
Is that as cool as I think it is? Because it looks rad.
It's very much like Stardew Valley with graves. So yeah, I'm having fun.
Perfect. Librarian used by Iswall. All right.
Surprise.
It's legit. So Luke Cage is a bulletproof dude who cannot be killed by people shooting at him. The season opens with him kicking in the door of a drug den. People, making Luke Cage smack, right? Again, 80s drug slang. I've never updated that. And he there's really, it's like, gotta show that we tried, and then everybody shoots him, and then he beats them all up.
There's union rules. We gotta make an attempt.
So
it's in the contract.
Why?
What?
Why don't they just drop their shit and walk out, right?
Well, and I mean, you're the guy who took a swing at Luke Cage. It's like Mark Honor, and like they said, they know Luke's not gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Luke's probably not even gonna leave him in the hospital, right?
Yeah, well, like the dude at the party. The dude at the party took a swing at Luke Cage and got like almost chokeslammed. And his buddies were like, "Yo, bro, that was awesome, right?" And I think it's sort of the reverse angle of that on the street.
I hated every single person in that scene.
I think we were supposed to. I think we were very clearly supposed to.
But I hate that bro more than I hate Mariah.
but I think the street mentality is the other side of that, right? Like you don't want to be the person who didn't take a swing.
I mean, why does anyone ever shoot at Superman?
That's my next question, because I am hung the fuck up on why the fuck there is any crime in My Hero Academia.
I really should watch that. I've heard
there's nobody quite powerful enough to be that invulnerable superhero.
To beat All Might?
I mean, it's happened though. Someone has beaten All Might.
So, for background for everybody who's not super familiar with My Hero Academia, it's an anime. There's some ridiculous percentage of people in the world have quirks, and it's 80%, right?
Yeah.
So 80% of the world possesses a quirk, and they range from one of the main characters has sticky balls on his head that he can pull off his head and stick to things and make people stick to them if they touch it. Right? To this other guy can wield fire out of his right hand and ice out of his left hand, and this other guy sweats explosives. Right? It runs the gamut. Oh, another person's special powers is they're a toad.
There's one guy that shoots tape out of his elbows.
Right.
So yeah, there's just
that guy's legit though, because he wants to be like Spider-Man. Yeah. So there's this weird slew between quirk holders. And it's a profession. You go to school to become a vigilante, and you get picked up by vigilante teams to do vigilante work. And you go to the special magnet high school for school people with quirks, and get trained to be better superheroes. And then you go try out and become on a team. And I'm sitting here watching all this shit. I'm like, who the fuck goes is robbing a liquor store in this setting?
Well, that was another point. Was that All Might can't be everywhere at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why there's minor crime, and that's why they also, what's his face with the knives, kind of was pissed off at all the current heroes because they were all just like wannabes, and the criminals were all wannabes. It's just like
Stain.
everybody was doing it for Stain. Everybody was just doing it for a name. They weren't really doing it because they believed in a cause
or money, right? They're heroes for hire, and he finds that whole concept abhorrent.
Yeah, and the one hero that he looked up to, or he thought was a true hero, All Might, he was the one he wanted to stop him. But there was just this constant, people were doing this for all the wrong reasons, and the main character, obviously Deku, wanted to be like All Might, but everyone else was kind of had really weird reasons. I mean, they did it because they didn't want to be like their father. They did it because they want to be the best, and they don't really care how they're the best hero. They just want to be and screw everybody else.
But that's like they go out and they go on patrol, and people are going out there doing stuff like robbing liquor stores, right? That's like a thing that exists, and like so this like I was unable to that would not sit in my head, right? Because like why would people do that if like you knew that? And it turns out that so this is where my criminal justice tangent. I spent like the last 3 weeks reading various like journals and white papers and shit about that, like real world justice, and like how there's like 5 things that we've determined from like the 1800s about crime and punishment. It's that people will commit crime. Punishment doesn't deter people from committing crime. The certainty of getting caught deters people from committing crime.
Mm-hmm.
The punishment and the length of punishment, the severity of punishment, has no bearing on it whatsoever. You can threaten to kill people and they'll still do it because of
They don't think they'll get caught.
They don't think they'll get caught, or they don't think it's worth. Like they don't think that they're going to have that punishment happen to them. It's weighed out in their mind that it's not. It's the risk is worth more than the reward, or the way around. And like the vast majority of people don't commit crime. It's only like the most. It's the 1% inverse thing, right? Most people are repeat offenders.
That's the patch on the bikers, yeah.
Right.
That's why it's there. Yeah.
And there was a couple other things. Oh, and then the way that we try to solve the problem is that we try to figure out who's going to commit crime when they're young, and then incarcerate them until they're 35, because people over the age of 35 commit disproportionately less crime. And like, I don't think that's true. I think that is the way that you're looking at that.
Them by telling them that the state hated them, and that they should be removed from society until they were 35.
And that's what winds up happening. And like, yeah, so it was super fascinating. But the things that I took away from it was, as applies to this discussion I was having, was that it's the certainty of getting caught that stops people from committing crimes, not the punishment, and the punishment has no bearing on what they're gonna. So like so why is it that and I know that part of the answer is because otherwise we don't have a story, but why is it that what drives people to shoot Luke Cage, right? Or what drives people to rob banks in Spider-Man's burrow or take a shot at Superman?
Well, I think that Superman alludes to this fairly often, in that Superman can hear everything that's going on for very, very wide radius, right?
Oh, like Daredevil.
And it's just, well, also Daredevil, but also Superman can fly super fast and get there. Like, Superman has to constantly triage what he's going to go say, or who he's going to go say, right? Whereas Daredevil, like, can hear people, but, like, has to take a fucking cab to get there, right? So Superman, it's always like, okay, that's a lower priority than that, right? And somebody knocking down, if somebody's knocking off a liquor store for the $200 they have in the till, A, they're probably not in a great place in their life. B, they're probably not actually going to be violent. It's probably not actually going to be that big of a deal. And C, they're very unlikely to encounter a superhero even if they exist. Like, Spider-Man can't be everywhere. Also, Doc Ock exists and is probably over there, so he has to go deal with that, right? Because that's the other thing that happens in these sort of situations, right? And in My Hero Academia, it seems like an outlier, but like superheroes fight super criminals.
Oh, there is an entire league of supervillains in My Hero Academia. So
Yeah.
it is not an outlier in that regard.
Well, yeah, but like if 80% of the people have superpowers and like some sizable percentage of that, whether it's like 20 or 50, is actually a useful superpower that could be used to stick up a liquor store, right? That's going to change the dynamics significantly, right? But if you have Spider-Man and like 16 regular Spider-Man villains, those are he's going to be fighting the Rhino or the Vulture, some other thing that's themed after an animal, rather than like Lou that lost his job at the bottle cap factory and now is like down on his luck and breaking into cars to steal stereos. Like, it's prioritization. It is from those with the most ability we ask the most of, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility.
Shit, really yeah.
Not jump kicking muggers necessarily. Also, the vast majority of crime is nonviolent crime, even amongst those who are very poor, right? So like the muggings and the liquor store robberies, those sorts of things are an extreme outlier compared to the broke into a car and stole your CD collection that won't buy on eBay anymore because they're fucking CDs, or like walked off with your mail that might have checks in it or something like that. And Spider-Man's not jump kicking those people. So it's all about priorities, right? And how much superpower you can put to work at once. And Manhattan and New York City is, in the Marvel Universe at least, the densest population of superheroes. Essentially, everybody lives there. Like, everybody that's not a Great Lakes Avenger.
Yeah.
Or like an X-Man living in San Francisco currently. And they just don't, even there, like, petty crimes don't get super response because that would be wildly disproportionate, and there's not enough of them. Like, wildly disproportionate. Cyclops stops a kid that's, like, skateboarding in the wrong place, right? Like, that's the problem. Like, it's militarized police, like, times a billion, essentially.
Well, I mean, that's right, because like I want to run in the super scan, right, and I want it to be a little bit like lower on the power scale, right? Like the idea of running a game where like y'all are training to be superheroes or whatever is fascinating to me, and I know what happens if I put you in that setting, right? Cataclysmic, like society overthrowing stuff. So like I'm thinking this stuff like all right. So what do we? Like, I don't need to think about the overarching like world threat. It's got to be internally reasonably consistent, and I've got to have some good characters for y'all to bounce off of. And that's it, right? Then we Florida man that shit. But like I wasn't able to put together a world that felt coherent enough to knock over.
Like in your current attempts here?
Yeah. So that's why I bring it up, right? Because like, so like. That the premise for My Hero Academia, which is really cool, and like yeah, sure, let's go ahead. But like, what are the motivating factors? Like, Dresden Files has broken me from like just being able to start anything because I have to answer the questions of who are the movers and shakers, right? Like, who wants things to change, who wants things to stay the same, who's clued in, who's not, sort of thing. And like, so looking at something like My Hero Academia, you've got this group, this organized society that is training people to be extra police crime force, right? And they're all like, they've got licenses and they have to you know, they have to be registered. And you're not allowed to use your quirks in public unless you're registered to be able to do that. To do that, you go through courses, you got to pay for all that shit, and that's actually really super interesting in and of itself because it sounds like there's this weird ass hierarchy going on behind the scenes, and I can't look at that and assume like, oh yeah, this is like intentionally stratified. That yeah, right. Like I'm trying to like That's how far I get before I'm like, none of it actually works because it's just it's an anime, right? Where people explode stuff and it's cool and I really like it and I keep watching it. But
Do I not have weird? Huh.
what you looking for?
I'm looking for Mutant City Blues, which should be in our drive somewhere, and I don't know whether I hid it or what. Maybe I have to just pull it back off. Drive-through. I got it as a bundle a while back. It is a gumshoe game, so it's the same system as Knights Black Agents, or Trail of Cthulhu, or Time Watch. And it is a game. It's a noir detective game set in a setting where I think 20% of the populace has.
Not Mutants in the Night. What was it called?
Mutants in the Night is another thing, which is super cool.
Mhm.
But that's a Blades in the Dark hack, where mutants are 10% of the population suddenly spontaneously got mutant powers, and then
And they're all
became a
forced living
segregated
together.
minority that
Yeah.
like they built. Yeah, that's a completely different thing. It's super cool. If you're watching right now, you should go check it out. Dungeon Commander on Twitter, dude's awesome. Mutant City Blues, which should be here somewhere, and I know I have access to. I'll have to get on something I have login for my drive-through account. Is Gumshoe, so it's got the roll 1d6, add however many points you want to spend, do the thing. Investigative focus. I think the central conceit is the players are a special unit of superpowered cops or investigators that are dealing with super crime specifically in the city, right? And like they catch everything that comes across the desk that's like superpowers were probably used here. This is your job. Go figure. And Gumshoe's really good at that investigative stuff.
Mhm.
I wish I had. I thought for sure because I know I pointed you towards it earlier, but apparently I didn't actually put it in here. So go me. I'm trying to think of what. I mean, Masks is a super great, especially like.
I want to run masks, right?
Mhm.
Like I know this. I know the setting, or the whatchamacallit, the mechanics, right? I want to run masks. Like I just don't know how to.
Well, Masks comes with a baked-in setting, sort of. That's probably a good place to start. Halcyon City, city of superheroes, essentially. And we each generate NPCs, or most of us wind up generating NPCs on our own. I mean, it's thinking work. We can also just like work on putting together a setting if that's the thing if you feel like that's the thing holding you back right now.
It's that a lot of these pre-baked settings, I feel, don't hold up under scrutiny.
Okay.
Right. And like I'll take a look at the mask setting again. I don't remember too much about it.
It's not. There's the mask setting is more sort of large scale guidance than independent setting details.
No, I'll take a look.
Trying to think what else we got. But yeah, I mean, we can put together a setting that makes sense to you as far as superhero character stuff, and sort of what that looks like.
I am amused that it was vastly easier to work out the 5e Knights of the Ashen Empire setting than it is to. I don't know why it's causing me so much grief. Like,
I mean,
Dresden
you
Files, we just
also
picked
have,
up the book and
you
started
have
running.
less there, right? Like that's less like our world, essentially, right? There's less things for you to get hooked onto to drag you up than, oh, well, it's superpowers, probably modern. I mean, the other option is City of Mists, which is
We
also
tried that.
noir.
Yeah. And I don't know that I do the noir thing well.
You want something that's that's more what like? Do you want like an academic setting?
I've run Pick Smoke with zero prep repeatedly to great success.
Okay. Do you want One Punch Man in an academic setting?
I don't even know how you make a game out of One Punch Man.
Well, you roll the die, and the thing dies, and then you do the next.
We played D&D.
I think if you're playing One Punch Man, you're not playing One Punch Man for like the fight scenes, right? You're playing One Punch Man for the weird slice of life, Saitama can't hack humanity scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get hooked on another thing like Dresden, right? So and it's not really putting those pieces back in the same place to try to get another thing like that Jenga tower that somehow didn't fall over. But like, yeah. So part of that was having enough interesting levers on each of the characters to cause like interaction and stuff. But also a large part of that was having this interesting mythology set against a familiar backdrop. So we could just pull up Florida and point to the waste management plant that is saved in my favorites folder for some reason. And and like, yeah, we just go from there. And yeah, we've got these guys summon ghosts and they're torturing people in a junkyard because that makes sense actually and works perfectly well.
Okay.
Yeah, but the and like
I was just about to suggest I was just talking to you about cold cases, and I'm like, well, there's the Old West Dresden, which is totally a book series I want to read.
I've been reading that. I finished. So I picked up a book called Vicious by I forget the author, and I had the Kindle app. It actually takes time to load now, and it was real fascinating. It was about two college kids who are already kind of like latent psychopaths that I guess that's not really a word that's not really a thing anymore, but they're latent antisocial, having antisocial disorders, and they're like super high functioning, coming from really high rich families, and they have all this knowledge, and there's this theory that enhanced people exist. They call them EOs, extraordinary people exist, and this one guy says, all right, well, they put their heads together and they figure out like, oh, it's people who go through a near-death experience come back with a superpower. So like, all right, well then we'll put ourselves through this near-death experience, and they both come back without that inhibition to be functioning society, and they both effectively become murderers, and then they both try to kill each other, and one of them goes to jail forever, and he gets out and then tries to kill the other guy, and it's actually a pretty solid book, right? But they're both just like rampantly, horrifically evil, and there's no good people in the book, and that's pretty great. That's why I picked it up. I picked it up if I see if I can get in the head of super criminals. And now I'm talking to you guys about how to set the setting up. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, is that the other thing that can happen? I mean, one of the ways that has been the framing device for new superhero universes since people started making those is, oh look, our world suddenly has superheroes.
Yeah.
Which means that all the old rules are still there. Life is impacted only in the immediate radius of the superheroes.
So which setting is it that's like, I want to say it's microscope. It's like it's got rules for, like, you think about a thing for a little bit and then you pull back and you go forward 1,000 years and you think about a thing for a little bit.
I don't know.
I thought microscope. Are you familiar with microscope?
I have never played microscope.
Neither have I, but I like heard stuff about it once.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have microscope? That was another one I thought we had.
Want to explore an epic history of your own creation, hundreds of thousands of years long, all in an afternoon. That's microscope. Yeah, so that is the thing I was thinking about. But like I don't know, I think it's the legacy concept where you set something up and then you go forward. Like maybe it would be fun to set up a superhero society and then run it forward a bit and then knock it down, or create a new one, or run it forward a bit and see what happens next. I don't know.
Like, so like start at some point in the past, or start now and run it forward in modern? Are we talking like, let's go back to like, make the ancient Greek heroes actually ancient Greek heroes, and watch the world?
I think starting at like the 0 hour of when things changed and run that for a bit and then move forward. I don't know. Like, the legacy idea seems strong, and I'm having trouble pushing it forward.
Yeah, I think we're bouncing off legacy a little bit. I don't know whether it's specifically interface issues because we're not like used to the thing, or because we're not like used to like going at each other a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that we've done very much.
It's partly it's supposed to be adversarial within the group, which is well, and especially like the long-term planning thing. I don't feel that it gave enough hooks to encourage that. I mean, like, civilization is essentially everybody deciding, do you know what? We're better if we work together and don't just randomly fuck each other over. So like, not living the day-to-day struggle, it's pretty easy to be like, well, maybe we could not be dicks and like fuck everything up, which isn't the best stories. I gotta agree with that.
Yeah, but when that happens, legacy is explicitly over.
Yeah.
Well,
like, because like I personally like drama and conflict between characters, but like that's not the same thing as like outright physical conflict or that kind of thing. Like, you can have two characters who know each other, like each other, get along, sorta, but have very different goals, and like they're gonna prioritize stuff differently. That's cool. That reveals people's, innate tendencies. But I don't know.
I think the variations on Legacy. Now that we've played the base game for a little while, the variations on Legacy that sort of came with it are more attractive to me. Specifically, the one where everyone plays a member of a pantheon and is angling for their apocalypse, and then the characters that everyone is playing are shifted over one. So you're not playing your own champions; you're playing someone else's champion.
Wait,
and they can
what game is
bribe
this?
you. This is called Godbound, I think. It's in the Legacy folder. Because we're all so everybody has to pick at the beginning whether they want the world to end in a good way or a bad way, and then we're all sort of jockeying for position to determine who's on top when the world ends, right? And then all of us are playing. When we go to character scale, we're all playing someone else's champion who has their own goals and who we can sort of bribe with magical powers to get to do the thing that we want them to do.
Nice.
Because that's the only way we can directly interact with the world.
Wait, God Sent? Is that the one?
Godsend. That sounds right.
I thought Godbound is a totally different role-playing game.
Yeah.
Oh, it is interesting. 4 gods. Igo, Ambrose, Cord, and Vala. Well, I mean, that is pretty cool.
I think there are Legacy itself is a cool idea, and I like it. I'm having fun playing it for sure. I think that it's not necessarily specifically our style. I think that there are maybe other versions of it that are, but I think because that seems fun. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if it's just like pulp opera stuff that I do really well with, right? Like Star Wars, right?
Yep.
I can run Star Wars off the bat without any problem. Dresden Files, also amazing.
yeah, because the superhero thing, locks us into. I mean, you can make just about any game a superhero game.
Yeah.
Fairly easy. Like Dungeon World could pretty easily be a superhero game. Genesis would require some work, I think. But yeah, like we can find if there's we could play a Star Wars superhero game. What we have to do is start everybody at Force Rating 3. And that's a Star Wars superhero game, right?
I think that is less varied than it sounds. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But I think if everyone picked a role out of Force and Destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not literally what we did, right?
No, it's not.
Adam, did you play
A
Guardian?
couple of us weren't even playing Force and Destiny.
Yeah, it was the robot.
Yeah, we had a bounty hunter and a what's it called? Marauder in the party. Also a pilot for a little while, a scoundrel for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing we could do is we could take something like Urban Shadows that's actually supposed to sort of make a Dresden Files game, right? Where people are werewolves and vampires and things. So we'll just like re-flavor the playbooks a little bit, and we can make them superheroes.
So I was originally a little concerned at like long-term viability of something like a PBTA game, but I don't know if that's actually like necessarily true.
No, I mean it depends on what they're built for, right? Some PBTA games are built to like go run into the shadows and burn out real, and other ones are specifically built to build things that you play in for a while.
Should I just? So I'm looking around and I realize that like I've got a Marvel calendar just to my left, and I've got a DC Comics Bombshells. I don't even know what this is.
Is it Birds of Prey something?
Yeah. No, this is framed photo something.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And like, am I just overthinking this?
I mean, we can play in the Marvel U. We can play in the DCU. I mean, shit. The DC, like Teen Titans is basically what Masks is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do we play? Oh, what if we play the
Dresden Files was kind of literally in the Marvelverse already. So
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. What if we take Masks and we just play the Teen Titans that came up behind the actual Teen Titans?
Right.
So like the next generation.
I think they called that Young Justice.
I actually never caught Young Justice. I've heard really good things.
It's on Netflix and it's really good.
It really is.
Is it still on Netflix?
Yeah. There's a third season that's gonna be coming out in like 3 months.
Yeah, but it's gonna be on the own proprietary DC thing because they hate people.
I am going to pick up the own proprietary DC thing for 1 month and mainline Young Justice season 3.
Basically, you know how Justice League Unlimited kept moving more and more towards like continuous narrative with actual things. Young Justice just takes that from the very beginning and goes, we're doing that right now. Just all the way. Screw bottle episodes.
Also, Young Justice is phenomenal. But wait, Zach, I think you've already come up with the answer.
Oh, good.
So you were talking about Godsend, right? Where you create the gods and then you create the scions and you pass it like one to your left or whatever. Like, let's do that, right? Let's create the gods, the Wonder Woman, Superman, whatever.
Oh, shit.
And then let's do the Young Justice thing, where like the the next generation after them.
Okay. I gotta say, the first time when capes or when masks first came up as a thing that we could play, like I've been thinking about this character that's just called Thing 2. It's the second thing.
Is it like the ever beloved and blue eyed Thing too?
Yeah, like Thing 2.
Or is it like Cat in the Hat Thing 1, Thing 2?
Well, it's both, right?
That's where I'm at.
It's meant, yeah. So like my thought process was it's like
Speaking around.
Yeah, fleshing her out a little bit, and like she looks like the Thing, but they call her Thing 2. But yeah, I think that that has potential for sure. We could brainstorm that, or I mean,
so
a lot of the mass playbooks actually create that person.
So like, just to rephrase the idea to make sure I understand it, is that everybody would create basically their iconic superhero and then pass them one to the left that someone's going to make the second person who follows in that person's footsteps.
Yeah. Like that.
Was this one of those things where you're like, that's a much better idea, let's go ahead and do that?
No, that was literally the idea.
Alright. Because like your reaction for a second there, I'm like...
I wanted to parse that and like...
Yeah.
No, that is exactly what I'm... Yeah. Because
Okay.
I think that's got... Because you've got... Because like part of the richness, at least that of what I've seen, is like we come up with a shared story and a background. Like maybe we play an episode with the OC, right? And then we create the next gen and we do a couple episodes of them. And I don't know, that seems like it's got good teeth, and it kind of mashes up with the begat or earlier stuff, like, you know, what happened, how did this world come to be, sort of thing.
Yeah, we can play like generationally,
Yeah.
like old school. Like we start all the way back when they were just like particularly ballsy Nazi punchers. And they were, like, hop forward,
and then the next hop is Vietnam, or what?
Yeah, the next hop is the comedian in Vietnam. Right. And then, like the Hayes Act or whatever it was called. It was the Hayes Act because it was the Hayes Code, right?
Yeah.
The Hayes Act passes, and like we have to deal with that shit. And then we jump forward to like the mid 2000s when the Superhero Registration Act was passed. Like, we bounce through like periods of superhero turmoil to see how they play out, right? And then we throw these poor kids into whatever dystopian nightmare we've created.
Right. So
wait.
I really
you would leave a dystopian nightmare behind us.
I just used the comedian in Vietnam touchstone.
All of our things are inadvertently creating horrible places. We're
really
good at that.
We're real good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an episode of Justice where all the adults disappear and they're out of phase, and they just run as they run that as a 3-part series as the kids change it. Yeah, I'm Blake. Good stuff in chat. Yeah, because like I don't know, that sounds really good to me, and I really want to get an interesting dystopian future that you guys can wreck / save? Question mark. There's always the option that you guys figure out a way to save one of these things.
Thing.
You know that the fourth generation then, right? Because we do the first one in Vietnam and the second one in the mid 2000s, and the next one is like modern-ish times, right? And then the fourth one is we have to bishop the kids back to the mid 90s.
Well, alright, so the other thing I was just thinking of is for a bottle episode kind of thing, we have to play our foes at one point in time.
Yes. But I think we have to start at before World War II, like for that first episode. And like, partly because like, as Americans, like we're all totally fixated on that World War II portion, you know, and that's never actually left our psyche. And also like, that's the kind of genesis of where our superheroes come from as well. And it also gives me a chance to redo, go back and fix some of the mistakes I made with the other Supers game that I was thinking about. So
Have you ever seen Godlike, Mike?
I'm not sure what that is in reference to.
So there was a White Wolf game, actually. I believe it was White Wolf that came out in like 3 different versions. The first one was Trinity. And
Oh
it was
shit!
like
Aeon and Scion was the last one.
yes, and maybe I was never directly involved in that one. Like that was
Yeah.
the one that came first. I never saw.
Yeah. But, oh wow, you are right. This is completely what he's talking about too.
Right. So
With the
yeah, so
Trinity
that one was,
Continuum?
yes, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
But the first one was like set in the far future. It was dystopian. There were superpowers, right? And then the second one was just a little. It was modern times. People were getting superpowers, running the same system, right? And they're called novas. And you could like see them playing out ahead of time. And then the third one was called Godlike, and it was a World War II superhero game. Like it was superheroes as the superpowers, right? Was the pitch. So instead of like heavy infantry and like mechanized cavalry and bombers, they had superheroes.
Yep. No, I remember that back from the '90s of all times, and yeah.
Yeah,
think
but
I had
when
a-
I was.
I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Location
I mean,
date
it's been forever.
2002.
And Aberrant was the only one I ever actually played. I think.
I think, well, because there was one that like I vaguely remember, like they talked about people being gentlemen adventurers with special abilities or something, and it was like I think it was a portion of one of those things, and I was just like, that's kind of cool. Well, it was supposed to be sort of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type of feel, but
Yeah, Aberrant was and at the time modern, so it was like right at the turn of the century, 20th century or 21st century, and like the Novas, which were the special people, were like pop stars, and like the NFL had to write special rules how only one could be on a football team at once, and like all of these things because they wanted to examine that in that they're like weird white wolf holding a mirror to society in a really fucked up way.
Is it Scion? Was this the White Wolf product? Like,
Scion
yeah,
is
it was
some-
White Wolf. I thought.
Scion was something I know Aberrant was. Scion is something else. Maybe there's a couple Scion things, which is I think Scion was still white, like a
Yeah.
White Wolf exalted storyteller system thing.
so was Aberrant. That's why I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's
this was
D20?
definitely a White Wolf thing. Not originally.
Aberrant is a
White
role-playing
Wolf-
game created by White Wolf in 1999, set in
Yeah.
the far future of 2008.
That hurts. Yeah, so much, huh?
But yeah. So anyway, long story short,
Trinity, Aberrant, and Adventure is White Wolf's Trinity universe.
okay. What was Godlike then? Who made Godlike? Arc Dream Publishing. Superhero role playing in a world on fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the book cover has a guy lifting a tank over his head, so it sounds exactly like what you're describing.
Yeah.
All right, it sounds like we're all kind of into the idea, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did a D20 version. That is so weird. Okay.
They made a D20 version of fucking everything. Like,
That is also true.
the SRD for 3rd edition hit, and everybody's like, "Well, gotta get on that D&D train." They did. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like that was just like the thought process, and they weren't wrong. Like a lot of those like D20 conversions outsold the original games, which is super sad, but it definitely happened.
Yeah. No, I remember the time. It was special.
But yeah, no, I am super into playing a successive line of Iron Fists.
Yeah.
Just one after another, after another, after another. They all die at age 33. Did you know that?
But
Prevention.
you keep a finger
Yes,
for
exactly.
the next one. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm mollified. I feel less vaguely adrift, like I have for the last couple of weeks on this subject.
I said, Masks is really good at what it does, but like a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, it's fairly specific in what it does, right?
Mhm.
So the playbooks for Masks reference the city and the older generation a lot. So if we're playing the first, or if we're sort of that far back, we may need to play. It may make more sense to play with something else first,
That's legit. I like it.
and sort of come back into Masks after.
Well, and like, I mean, you could do a thing where we play around with the system that each one's presented in.
Yeah, yeah. I really like. I tell the story a lot, so people probably hear a lot. But I had a D&D group where I started in basic. And we played a generation worth of like a few adventures for a generation, and then we skipped to the next one. We skipped to the second, and we played that. Then we skipped forward to AD&D, and we played that. And we skipped. Like, I really like that. Like, the rules are different for different generations.
Yeah, I like it.
And we definitely have the material support to do that. We have Worlds in Peril, which we've already played with. Some of us. I mean, everybody here has. Which to whatever effect that was. City of Mist could do a really good superhero game, actually, for a little while.
So I was just reading. You put the setting Bible up and you linked it the other day. Your description of Ruck in Blades terms, I'm like, yep, that's completely right.
I try to be like each of you is going to be the heroes of your zone, and I want to be like true to that feeling.
Awesome.
What was the other thing I was just thinking of? I don't know. I think part of what popped in my head was that we had such success with Dresden, in part because it is fairly loose and just get out of the way.
But there were a lot of levers on the characters.
Well, and that part of it, I think, is important. Is the stuff that helps the drama and that helps the things move along. That is just in general.
Partly, I like the approach, if that makes sense. I don't know.
What do you mean?
Just Dresden's stats are essentially how good you are at doing things in a certain way.
What is he showing?
It's the Fate superhero setting.
It's in core, but it wouldn't be that hard to convert
Switch
over
over
to
to-
approaches.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that hard to switch into DFAs / Genesis.
Well, and
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you just have to like take core and just like throw the Dresden approaches in here, and then be like, stunts exist, have some, go nuts.
Yeah.
Because all the
Mass
powers are
Dresden
already sort of
Cross.
all the powers are sort of already pulled out. All the stunts are sort of pulled out. Can you focus on that, please? No. Into like, if you want to be super fast, here's the things that you do.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's a thing that you're interested in, we can definitely play that. Or we could just like, that could be one wing of this thing where we like throw down Dresden style to get it started. I think City of Mist would do a very good like mythic past sort of. These are the heroes of legend from yore.
Yeah.
Right. I think this would probably do fairly well wherever we want to run it. Masks, I would like to. If what we're doing is building a world to play a thing in, Masks probably makes the most sense to play the thing in.
Right.
Right. And the other stuff is probably stuff that we can build towards.
Okay. Yeah, we should.
At least that's my take.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right, now I have all that to do. Let's think about it. Cool. That seems totally legit.
Blake is trying to get us to run rifts.
Why?
Blake, you crazy bastard.
Yeah, but
No.
you were the right person to talk to. Adam, didn't you run rifts?
No, I always wanted to though, so I could make a glitter boy. Kind of do it with my gnome, but
I keep thinking the Dresden Accelerated actually would make and Tracy, who was on our interview show, did this with giant Ragnamechs, right? I felt like Dresden Files would the Accelerated made a lot of sense for running a Rifts game if you just like convert stuff over. It's just like, yeah, you have this stuff. Everybody has stuff. Like, fucking deal. Because that's just sort of the Rift's ethos is like, yeah, you're really smart, but he's got a giant robot. Fucking deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I get the nostalgia of the times you played those old games, but like going back and playing some of the old games, I'm like, no, I'm good. Thanks. I remember it too good.
I'm following a couple of people online on Twitter that are like planning a Rift's actual play where everyone's a juicer and they're all super excited about it. I'm
my.
I don't like being this way about actual people, but like, and I'm like, that's adorable, but it's gonna explode. Like, it's gonna explode. That game's gonna explode. Like, I wish you the best of luck. I hope it works. I would kind of like to be included, but you don't have to, obviously. It's gonna explode. That thing's gonna explode. Yeah.
I feel like some locals were going to go through and run a game in second edition D&D, and they'd never played anything before third. They thought third was clunky. I'm just looking at them like, I don't want nothing to do with this, man. Good luck. Reread the initiative rules because you're thinking of them wrong.
Yep, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. Forget everything you ever learned about initiative. I occasionally get the urge to, like, when people are talking, when I get into way too many conversations about role-playing games, but when I hear somebody, like, holding forth on like the mists of time through which D&D hath come, I'm like, motherfucker, sit down and calculate your damage on small targets. Let's do this thing right now. Let's do it. You get to attack 3 times every 4 turns.
Yep.
Deal.
Yeah.
Your attack rate is fractional, fucker. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to like take, because I feel like it's an educational experience, right? Like, we still make kids diagram sentences in some schools. It's completely useless skill. It doesn't matter anymore. Let's make actual gamers, people who want to like hold forth on D&D specifically, to be like, you want to learn some D&D, y'all? Let's learn some D&D.
Well, it's like
Save versus stabs, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I played in a long second edition campaign, and I loved the game. It was a great game with great people. But like when third came out, most of us looked at it and were like, "Can we switch?" I think we stole the skill system and basically made it work in second, so that it had some sort of skill system that was usable.
Yeah, I mean, like I think a lot, and this is again, I talk and think a lot about D&D. My impression is that a lot of people think that more actually changed between second and third, like AD&D and third, than actually did, and a lot changed, but a ton of it was just interface.
Yep.
Like it was interface straight across, and like it's hard to. Even now, like I have a lot of nostalgia for second edition. I would play in a second edition game. If somebody's like, "Let's play second edition D&D," I'll fucking play it. But I'll hate it most of the time. But I will play it. But the thing to remember is that it is pain to try and make sense of if you are not if you do not natively speak Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. It's one of those great examples of how far we've come. It's like trying to design a part on a drafting board. Can I do it? Yes, I can. Why ever would I do this?
That is the thing that we do.
I borrowed the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1 rules from my local library.
Nice.
I read that shit cover to cover, just like I owned the AD&D second edition books. Yeah. No, I grew up speaking that language.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but so my family in Rochester ran like a bar bowling alley.
Yeah.
I got a set of the 4 first edition Dungeons and Dragons books because the guy heard that I was sort of into it a little bit, which is second edition. He just gave them all to me in the middle of the bar. It's like, here you go. I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time. It's like it was a family-run bar. He knew my dad for years. So, but like at the time, I didn't realize that, and it was super bizarre.
Just like when D&D Santa showed up.
Yeah,
Like, here,
I still took the books, you know.
obviously you take the books, right?
Books can't hurt you. It's fine.
Yeah, you know. All right. So it's a little after 11. I may need to call this.
No, I think that we accomplished what we wanted to do. We talked about superheroes for 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
We made more grandiose plans that sound great.
Sure, they're definitely gonna work too. It's definitely gonna work.
Yeah, it's no problem. Yeah. What we like maybe next Thursday we bookend the legacy stuff. Just like close it out. When we figure out what to do for the week after that, or September, or whatever. And like, if people want to cycle that, like, I don't know if everybody wanted to take a break, anybody wanted to take a break, or whatever, we can always find lots of people. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna call this one. I'm gonna hit the end stream button. Upload this to YouTube. Thanks everybody. Peace, love, good gaming. Like shit, that's fucking Order 66 podcast. That's not us.
Good night, internet.
Good night, internet.
Night.